Here's a 2001 Road King motor that we're putting together, a motor for a touring bike. This motor has been teaching us all more lessons on, again, trust who's putting these things together. This is now the second time this thing is apart, and has nothing to do with what we did. It's just all the things that we find when somebody brings us a bike that we have never put together. And now we're basically doing the bottom end up. And one of the reasons is, you can see right here on this, this is actually the connecting rod pin and the flywheel halves. Let's see if I can get a little bit better. You can actually see that the bearing wasn't riding all the way on the surface of this pin. So we rebuilt this crankshaft, all new rod bearings. These actually have 3, and they're on the center of that pin, just like that, but slid on this way. And it's a roller type bearing. And you can see, like I said, you spin that right there, it's not riding all the way on. Whether this pin's warped, something wrong with the rollers, at this point it doesn't even matter what's wrong with it. It's all needs to be replaced. You can kind of see the shine on that. Yeah, it's hard to tell, the glare on the camera. But you can see it's not right. We found a bunch of metal doing an oil change. And a lot of times what happens too is, this is why it's important to, know who's building these things. Even from the factory, they're not the greatest. But, when we put them back together, when they're apart, they go back together the right way. And this actually gets 2 plugs in the end of it. Again, this is the connecting rod for the flywheel halves. And you can see also these tiny little passages. So oil actually goes through here into that crankshaft, which goes into here, and I don't know, yeah, you can see it right there. See all that sediment that's built up in there? This thing is just a trap for metal, contaminants. Once it gets in there, it pretty much doesn't come out, or when it does start to, it starts to come out these holes, which again are your rod bearings, which is why we see a lot of rod bearing failure. And again, you can't stress it enough, the best way to rebuild these things is to just do it from the bottom up, so you know exactly what you're getting. Again, once we got into this one, it had a Screaming Eagle cam plate. That's a lot more scored than our liking. I mean, you can catch that right with your fingernail. That's no good. So we're actually gonna upgrade this guy to one of these fueling kits. These things are awesome. These guys are awesome. These kits come with everything that you need. Oil pump, all the bearings, the gaskets, the chains, sprocket gears, everything's new. It's just a kit that some of these other companies make this stuff, and you gotta piece everything together, and Fueling did a phenomenal job with these early twin cams, making these tensioner upgrade kits. We've put in, I don't know, probably hundreds of them. Never had an issue with one of them. So, shout out to them for making this awesome kit. We've got them in stock in the shop. We do a lot of twin cams. But again, going back to this thing, we're going back together, and everything is looking good. Again, one of the most important things about these little videos that I try to make is try to inform people on what's going on. And again, trust who's putting your stuff together. Make sure they're doing it the right way. Cleanliness is key, putting these things together. If you don't know some of these little tricks and tidbits on measuring things and the fitment and, checking your end gap on your piston rings, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble. These parts tend to add up pretty quick. So, know who's putting your stuff together, or know what you're doing when you're putting it together. I mean, this thing's going to be a solid unit when it's done. And this actually, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video, this is actually a 120R motor, and somebody's been in there, don't know what they did exactly, but now we're on the cleanup end of it and moving forward, so hopefully some of this little info helps.